AAA games right now cost approximately over 50 million to make. And they are also safe because they are guaranteed to make that money back. Or is it? AAA gaming have been struggling a bit lately. So what happened? Surely throwing even more money at it will make it work, right? Well, there is definitely a way to make it work. It's just not more money. That's for sure. Hello everyone. Today I want to take you on a trip at all the things happening with the AAA games and explain why it is hurting. So, who thought the gaming industry will end up being that money hungry? You think studios would love to keep things cheap, to be a lot less risky and end up having much more sustainable framework. But sadly, no, the industry got so big and expensive it's actually not funny anymore. But it is to be expected. Gaming has surpassed both the film and music industry, practically making gaming one of the most important forms of entertainment around the world. However, and oddly enough, the gaming industry is going through what might seem to be a very trying period. Nothing seems sustainable yet it gets sustained somehow. The big names in the industry get a fair amount of competition from small teams, and that have made everyone wonder, how is that happening? When those big names drop over 50 million on a game and still get a competition from very small production that barely cost 5 million, maybe a million or something. There are many things to consider when it comes to this stuff. However, this video will work to take a look at many aspects of why these struggles are happening and why, or is it at this point possible to have a healthy market of huge games to come out and thrive safely without a question. Because you don't know when a big game does not thrive, that is highly likely to kill a gaming studio and it sets it out of production, gets its employees fired, and sometimes if they have a good number of games, it's unlikely you get a sequel to any of them unless another studio buys that IP. So this is an overview of what the big AAA gaming industry looking like right now. From cost to creativity to practices and technology, there are many things that are affecting this industry, and it does not look like good time for the big budget games to come out in a wild and unpredictable market. The goal here is to get an insight at why money sometimes cannot make the best games. Well, technically it does, but with the numbers of factors involved, you will realize that money is both the good and the bad in this problem. What are AAA games? AAA games are high production games. They take a lot of money and time to make. However, the original term AAA is used to describe a safe investment, which is why I have asked if it is possible for these games to thrive in the market safely. It both is extremely sad and ironic when a AAA game just does not work. It will be anything but a safe investment. Now, you might be wondering why investment terms are used here. Well, gaming has proven it is extremely lucrative venture if made correctly, which is why many people with a lot of money were looking to invest in gaming development with a promise of returns. And quickly, gaming turned from this creative and entertaining production into a money-making machine. Now, thanks to that, gaming development became tech industry, and games are treated a lot more like software than a game. The desire to keep on updating the game, keep the game live on a server, and how for the app or the game to keep on making money long term. There are many practices from the tech industry become very normal things here in gaming, or that is what it seems like it. But the reality, gaming was always a part of tech. But instead of solving problems, gaming solves your free time. But back to the main point here, why an insane amount of money is now involved. Simply put, highly produced games were supposed to be guaranteed to succeed and be a safe investment. However, AAA games are losing their touch. They are not as hot as they used to. But do not get me wrong though, as far as things go, they are still doing relatively fine. And even though these games do not achieve the predicted outcome, having a game be a net loss is very rare to this day. But the way things are going, it is clearly heading to a bad direction. We do have cases of games that come out and do not perform well, so since that is a possibility, how risky can a AAA game be? Well, risky to the point of even if you make a hit game, you might still shut down. Hi-Fi Rush and Tango Studio are the example here. But to be fair, that is not a normal case. And Hi-Fi Rush was a AA game. They spent less, they are the abnormal. That is said, they spent less, they made more, and they still got shut down. AAA games can be so risky they would shut down a studio if the game does flop. it will cause a studio to shut down. Why is that? A AAA game can cost up to 60 million. So if it goes bad, the studio will either shut down, or at the very least, they will lose the people that funded them in the first place. Not to mention the games that go up to 100, 300 or 500 million. Hello? Are they making games or building a whole new town with all that money? The worst part, it still can flop with 500 million. Why, you might be asking? Well, it is because gaming is entertainment. Entertainment is subjective. Some people like gaming, for example. Others hate to spend their time sitting, and many more hate a confused product. So it is not about how much you invest to make it. It's about what it is you are trying to give your audience. A good game will not need that budget and will not worry about all the other monetization methods to resort to. Sadly, heavy monetization became a staple in the gaming scene, and I think it makes sense. However, the danger a big budget game faces is not making that money back. In fact, these are relatively controllable if you make a good game. When a huge budget is given, certain creative sacrifices end up happening. As we've already described, a game is entertainment. Therefore, it would be best to leave it to the hands of the people that know how it works. So that would be game developers, right? Or so it looks like it. When a big budget is granted, typically there are investors that give that money, because it was supposed to be a good investment. But by doing so, sometimes they do get the privilege to make demands, meaning the studio will have to keep them happy. With Redfall, a game that have gone bad, the development team did not want to even work on the game. They had to, because ZeniMax forced the studio Arkane Austin to make it. Arkane Austin is a single player development team, and they were forced to make a live service game. During development, 70% of developers left because they do not want to make that project, which is another way of saying we didn't choose to make this, and the results are amazingly bad. This problem is called losing creative control. Sometimes this problem can be an extreme like Redfall, other times it's not. It can be like forcing systems like season passes and microtransactions into a game. But when a game gets the team to make the decision on what the game is and how it works, you will get great games like Helldivers 2, Baldur's Gate and Hollow Knight. These games are both good and their systems make sense. But that is not the only thing the investors typically aim for. So investors give money to make more money. That is how it works. But in the process, many problems come into light. Creative control is one of them. Another one I would refer to as profitable practices. These practices are indeed profitable, although can be scummy. In my previous video, Understanding Live Service Games, I talked about these. To put it in short, making a game live service because this way they can't keep on charging for stuff. Add season passes because Fortnite made them work, and oh boy did they work. Microtransactions, and the list will keep on going on and on. Whenever a game will make a profitable business model, 50 more games will force that system into their own games, because the people that get the higher position will force these decisions. Again, these can be implemented in good ways or bad ways. The worst way this can affect a game is when the game is basically an ad for these small annoying things. If the Justice League, for example, did it and it backfired badly. Another reason why these practices get implemented is competition. Sometimes I get the feeling that every game that come out try to be the best game of all time, all in or just out, which can cause big problems overall. One major problem is when you try to be the best. When you are trying to be the best, you have to cater for the biggest possible audience, and to do that you will end up accounting for all ages, bringing in the too safe for work problem. When a game tries to appeal for an extremely large audience, playing safe is an understatement. Sometimes the game will lose its identity just to be approachable by all audiences, and that becomes very clear when you have games with way too many sequels suddenly start to struggle. You think you know your favorite franchise and suddenly you don't know it. A great example for that was Assassin's Creed, but it seems like Ubisoft is getting their foot on the right track. Still, taking that approach is not really good. Elden Ring is good because it has a certain audience to it, and that does not only make it approachable by that audience. Anyone that wants to experience a great Souls-like experience, Elden Ring is the go-to game as of right now. GTA is also another example of the same idea. a game that is there to be itself and be unapologetic about it. Calling GTA legendary is also an understatement. Okay, if a studio is going to tone down their content, surely they do realize there are risks, right? Well, let's ask the question, what makes a game sells regardless? Give them a loved game or an IP with as many shitty practices and they will still buy sometimes. For the longest time, Call of Duty survived using that method, and there are many more examples of that. But lately, the opposite started to happen. With some of the superhero games do not get the expected results, others do still succeed, Spider-Man for example. So honestly, it's very unclear as of right now what makes or breaks a game at this point. But you know what IP succeeded? It's Helldivers 2. Arrowhead Studio made all the good decisions when it comes to that game. I just don't see why it will not succeed. We've talked about cost of a game, but one of the reasons for that insane amount is hiring and how long it takes to manage a huge number of developers. I'm not sure if there is an actual way to have too many developers be managed efficiently, and just like every major company, and how long it takes a decision to be made because it needs to go through multiple people or divisions. Now gaming have that same problem. I will be honest here, I don't see how this thing can be changed because it is a terrible problem that plagued every huge business for a very long time now. It almost feels like it is better or safer for them to do it this way. So yeah, just that problem drained them, I guess. Indie games on the other hand seems like they are getting more and more better. A small hit shows up every now and then, and it is happening more and more frequently. The majority of indie games do not suffer from the same problems major gaming studios have. They are tight on budget, yes, but retained creative control, and it does show how important creative control can be when a studio makes what they exactly want to make and it ends up being just good and profitable as well. That is said, even indie games do struggle a lot, especially when we get the success to fail ratio. Obviously, indie games a lot of the times are just made by college students, and that is to be expected. Everyone follow their passion as early as possible. That is said, this market still favors the AAA games, with a clear shift towards more creative focused projects and studios. And it's time to ask the important question, will it be fixed? This is where the surprising things come to play. I do believe these problems will be fixed for some AAA studios. Now that there are failures with AAA games, the problem from money to creativity and how unsustainable they can be, there is a proven example to convince investors not to intervene in a creative venture further than investing. What that means is telling a higher up they should not dictate orders makes a lot more sense, and it is proven to hurt everyone in the long run. So to be on good terms with investors, the corporate heads will have to consider a bad outcome, and maybe they will have a change of heart and protect the team's creativity instead. Maybe I am too optimistic, and that part of the gaming industry just ruled by blockheads, and they are dead inside, and it is hopeless at this point. I don't know. My business sense tells me going easy on developers is bound to pay back well. AAA games still find some success, but it is less and less by the day. Also, the way layoffs are happening right now might be an indication that big gaming companies either preparing for failure or they are changing things to get control back from the indie gaming industry. As it stands right now, it is extremely risky to just dump money into development. There are too many problems that needs to be addressed first, but it is not like it's an impossible feat. For money and creativity, having teams work on smaller projects is a very good way to deal with both at the same time. Everything else will have to be focused on what these games do best and build on it. For the whole microtransaction and fixing a game in a way that it would keep on bringing money, being moderate is the best way to deal with that. And that was the video. Thank you very much for watching.